Welcome back to Watch the Bookerman and to episode number 38 of Paul Heyman's TNA 2010. We are booking Hard Justice 2010, and the first good news I suppose is that Jeff Hardy has shown up to tonight's show. No incident, we haven't had to send him home, which means that the only absent workers are D'Angelo De Niro, who is out with a long-term injury, and Brother Ray and Brother Devon, who pretty much work full-time for New Japan now, so they're not even in consideration when it comes to my booking. The contracts are up in a couple of months, and I don't think we're going to make any attempt to re-sign them. Seems pointless at this stage. We are in the impact zone for this pay-per-view, and after Hard Justice, there is just one pay-per-view, and then it's Bound for Glory, so think of this maybe like a Road to WrestleMania type period. Every show between now, Hard Justice and Bound for Glory is going to mean something, and hopefully that helps the series be more entertaining and more enjoyable. That said, let's get into this pay-per-view, Hard Justice. And we kick off the show with a video package promoting the pay-per-view and previewing the match card. Pretty standard stuff, what you'd expect. The main focus being on the World Heavyweight Championship match. Kurt Angle will defend against Desmond Wolfe and Samoa Joe, as well as the final showdown between Beer Money and the Motor City Machine Guns. The World Tag Team titles on the line in a 2 out of 3 falls match. If Beer Money can defeat Motor City Machine Guns once again, the Machine Guns, Shelley and Sabin, will never be able to challenge for the titles while Beer Money hold them. Out of the video package, our commentators Mauro and Taz welcome viewers to the pay-per-view and lead us straight into the opening match of the night. And it's a pretty significant match. It's a really good opening segment actually. We'll just note that before we go into the opener, and it's important because it's the first time that Hernandez and Homicide have worked together for well over a year, probably more like 2 years. They're joined by Amazing Red against Bad Influence, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian and Matt Morgan. Bad Influence have been a big part of my booking for the last 6 months-ish, maybe a little bit less, but generally when they're in a big feud, they are the teams that will lose. They will carry the program certainly with really good promos, and they're very antagonistic characters, but tonight in a match that has good heat and decent wrestling, Amazing Red, Hernandez and Homicide defeat them in 12 minutes and 58. Hernandez pinning Christopher Daniels with a border toss, some more level of vindication. He pinned Matt Morgan a few weeks ago, but Chris Daniels is the ringleader, so that will have felt good for Hernandez. And one thing that the commentators are definitely putting over is that Homicide and Hernandez didn't look to have lost a step as a duo. They still had that understanding, still had that chemistry that made them such a great tag team. It's a decent opener with a 63 rating, and there's some, fairly average performances, decent performances, but Daniels the only standout with a 71. Hernandez off his game, but it got the crowd hotter, and it's a good way to start the show. Hopefully a feel-good moment with Homicide and Hernandez back on the same page. Amazing Red joining them in the ring after the team's victory. All three men in high spirits after a cathartic victory for the three. While there is no confirmation of any long-term reunion of LAX, Homicide and Hernandez do exchange a look as the commentator suggests that spark has returned between the pair. That chemistry, as I said already, hasn't deserted them, and they put over the teamwork of the duo in the opener, with Taz saying that chemistry like that is rare in professional wrestling, and Hernandez and Homicide would be foolish not to make this a permanent fixture, so continuing to push the idea that LAX may be getting back together, although like I said, nothing set in stone just yet. As we move on then to recapping the storyline between Tara and Jazz. Jazz debuting with the company last month at Victory Road and costing Tara her rematch against the Knockouts champion Madison Rayne. Rayne retained, and Tara has turned her attention to Jazz throughout this month. But we see at ringside, Rodney Mack, the husband of Jazz, is shown taking a seat in the front row. Mack is sat beside the pram of their twin daughters, just putting over there a visual representation of why Jazz did what she did, why she decided to do the bidding of Madison Rayne at last month's pay-per-view. She wanted to get her foot in the door because she is doing this for her family. Could probably compare this to the Kevin Owens, Kevin Steen character when he was talking so much about doing everything for his family, but at the same time doing these disgusting acts. And we're just getting that over by having her husband and children in the front row. When Jazz makes her entrance, she kisses her husband before entering the ring. It's a poor segment, but I'm not really too bothered about that because it was just about getting over the idea and the character of Jazz, which is that she will do whatever it takes in order to provide for her family, and that is evidenced in this match. It had a decent reaction from the crowd, but subpar wrestling apparently. Tara with an okay 59, she has done better than that in the past, and Jazz, we know, isn't very over, so it's always going to hurt her performances. I do think, unless she's underrated in the mod, that Jazz is somebody who could definitely be a valuable figure in this knockouts division. It's just a case of getting her a little bit more over. Hopefully we do that during this match, as when Tara sets up for a Widow's Peak, Rodney Mack jumps the guardrail and actually distracts the referee. Jazz is then able to roll out of the ring and goes over to the pram of her two twin daughters, taking out a wrench, which she is then able to hit Tara with in the back. Tara doesn't see this coming, and the commentators put over this as a very, very shocking, disgusting tactic used by Jazz. Obviously it would be done in a safe way, but to put a weapon in the pram of her children, it shows just how desperate she is. That's what we want to put over in her character, and she is then able, maybe hitting a Jazz stinger after that, to add to the impact that does help her to victory. Rodney Mack, of course, distracting the referee. He's a big guy. He's going to be very, very difficult for whoever the referee is to handle. He's only on a one-night deal. Hopefully to put over in simple terms why Jazz is doing what she's doing. A controversial victory as she hugs her husband and makes a quick escape. The couple leaving through the crowd with their children before Jazz even has time to have her arm raised. Mauro Ranallo condemns the actions of Jazz. Tara comes round in the ring. She looks completely confused as to what went down. When she sees what's happened, she will definitely be out for revenge, but for the time being, she's not got a clue what happened. Before his scheduled match with Jeff Hardy, Abyss is interviewed with Lauren Brooke, and having spoken his first words in 9 months on this Thursday's Impact, Abyss is asked what he meant by the real monster that he spoke of. Abyss once again looks troubled, which concerns Lauren Brooke. She's got a lot of history with him. She knows all about the unhinged side of the monster. He tugs on his hair. He looks in Lauren's eyes. These expressions and putting over those emotions was always Abyss's forte. He always did a really good job of that, I thought. And Abyss says that he's coming and says that the sins of the father shall be visited on the son. Abyss not in a good way at all, as we go into the video package before the match, which looks at the history between Abyss and Jeff Hardy, beginning in their rivalry in 2005, but hopefully trying to focus more on what they've done recently. We don't want people pining for TNA as it was then. We want them focused on the here and now. And following Jeff Hardy's count-out victory win over Abyss in the Road to Victory tournament a couple of months ago, the monster has targeted Jeff. While Hardy did manage to get the better of some of his exchanges with Abyss, he was unable to appear on Impact this week due to injuries sustained during the course of this rivalry. During that show 3 nights ago, Abyss warned Jeff Hardy to stay away, promising that the real monster was coming. And we go into that match, which is a pretty poor match, but I think that's partly to do with my booking of it. From the opening bell, Jeff Hardy comes at Abyss, and Abyss hits him with a black hole slam. This probably gets maybe a 3 or 4. Remember, this is a last man standing match, I forgot to mention that. Very much out of the gates, Abyss is on top of Jeff Hardy. He takes him to the outside, chokeslams him on the steel steps, gets another maybe a 4 or 5 this time, and he absolutely destroys Jeff Hardy on the outside, into the guardrails, into the steel posts, before dragging him up to the top of the stage. Here, Jeff Hardy does begin to mount a bit of a comeback. He's fighting back and trying to knock Abyss off the stage to the ground below, but Abyss grabs him by the throat and very, very quickly turns him round, dropping him off the stage. A huge crash. It's a stunt bump for Jeff Hardy, which I can only imagine how bad the match would have been had we not put that in. But Abyss then wins. Jeff Hardy is out. He does not move an inch. We have seen a different, more focused Abyss tonight. And of course, the backstage incident we had with Jeff Hardy did play into this. He was scheduled to actually win this match in the first place, but plans have completely been flipped on the head with the fact that we can't rely on Jeff Hardy. This isn't so much a punishment of him, but more that why would I give him the win when on this Thursday's Impact he could show up in no condition to compete? I'm sending him to rehab, and Abyss has lost for no reason. So disappointing as it is, because I really thought he was going to be one of our big stars. I'm going to probably give Jeff Hardy maybe a month's vacation, because I do still want him on the Bound for Glory card. But of course, if he's not able to compete, then that's just how it's going to have to be. Following a short yet brutal match, Abyss stands over Jeff Hardy on the stage, with the charismatic Enigma not moving at all. That chokeslam that sent him from the stage to the ground below has just completely wiped him out, and eventually medics arrive on the scene, loading Jeff Hardy onto a stretcher. The commentators put over the dominant and decisive victory of Abyss. He was losing a little bit of momentum in the last few months, but this has really, hopefully, solidified him as that dangerous monster that we've been building him as. And as Jeff is carried away, it becomes clear that Abyss is still troubled by something. This victory hasn't helped him out with the mental issues he's facing. Since coming back from suspension, we have seen a different side to Abyss. Of course, he turned heel during that time, but tonight more than ever, the real monster showed his true colours. We then go to the back, and Tara is approached by, says Jerry Borash, it's Lauren Brooke on screen, so Tara is approached by Lauren Brooke, who asks for her reaction to the events of the match with Jazz. Having now seen the footage back, Tara is furious and says that she's going straight to Paul Heyman. Not only does she think what Jazz did was disgusting, she also wants another match with her because she just got smacked in the head with a wrench. Probably not the head, the back. As she storms off, the New Age cross paths with her and there's a little look exchanged. Jimmy Jacobs decides that he's going to take over the promo. He says that Lauren Brooke doesn't need to speak to a has-been like Tara when the New Age have so much to say. Jacobs says that everybody knows what is going to happen tonight, and it's the same thing that's happened in every Knockouts Tag Team Championship match since he came to TNA. The New Age will leave with the gold and make 2 more believers out of DNR. Now, Slammiversary was the turning point of this, obviously, because Awesome Kong and Hamada, who were the first 2 members of the New Age under Jimmy Jacobs' tutelage or whatever, and then he turned on them at Slammiversary. So all year, really, the New Age have held the Knockouts Tag Team Championships, albeit 2 teams in 2 different reigns. We then get a video package before the 4th match of the night, and it's a video package about the biggest pay-per-view of TNA's calendar, Bound for Glory. I've been talking about it a lot, but this is the official on-screen confirmation. It is 2 months away, and the event will take place on 10/10/10. And the venue for this will be the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach, Florida. This was where they did it in real life in 2010, so I've just decided to copy that. I had nowhere specifically in mind. In the future, I do want to do events in some of the Paul Heyman hotspots. Maybe we'll go to the Hammerstein Ballroom or something like that. But for Bound for Glory 2010, I thought it was easy enough to just go where they went in reality. The commentators then continued to put over the landmark event before turning attention to the Global Championship match up next. And it's a match that had good heat and decent wrestling. One caveat of the match is Mr. Anderson flirting with Maria at ringside, and this is what sort of encourages Jay Lethal to show a bit more fire. Sean Bashir and Rob Terry do come out, so it's another match with a little bit of interference, which I don't want to do too much. But the way I wanted to protect both of these guys, I wanted some kind of, it's a little bit of a convoluted finish, but Anderson gets the belt to try and cheat, so very reminiscent to the second match of the night. But Maria, who has had a few disrespectful comments aimed at her by Mr. Anderson during the course of the match, comes in and low blows Mr. Anderson. Jay Lethal is then able to hit a cutter onto the title belt, which he drops. So in a way, it's not a clean finish. We are protecting Mr. Anderson in the process. He still wasn't happy about the booking of the match. Neither was Jeff Hardy about losing to Abyss. But as I said, that's something that's just got to happen. I mean, I'm not even that particularly happy with the booking of this, because Mr. Anderson losing to Jay Lethal, he should have been a main eventer. He's not quite clicked there for me yet. I do have plans for him, and things will get better for him in the future, but at the minute, he's been somebody who we've used to put over Jay Lethal. He's somebody who I'm very, very high on. I'm keen on trying to establish him as a upper mid-card figure on the brink of the main event, a future potential World Heavyweight Champion. Again, some people might think that Mr. Anderson is more of a ready-made star, but I decided to go with Jay Lethal, retaining the Global Championship, still a double champion, and he is joined in the ring by Maria, who hugs her boyfriend, hands him his other title, the X Division Championship, the referee then bringing in the Global title, and he raises both titles in the air. While the focus stays on Jay Lethal, Mauro and Taz make comment on the demeanour of Mr. Anderson as he finally heads up the ramp. They say that he is openly berating Big Rob and Sean Bashir, pushing them, absolutely furious. He has lost his cool with the 2 members of his entourage, and Mr. Anderson really going to have an inquisition into the stable that he's built, because they are not doing a good job in advancing his career, and I mean, there's no reason he'd keep them around in that case. Back to the interview area, Jeremy Borash speaks with the Knockouts champion ahead of her title defense against Awesome Kong later tonight, and despite no showing an interview with Lauren Brooke earlier, Rain now seems extremely confident. She says that she is ready to face Awesome Kong and looking forward to the challenge, so very much a change of her tune. Even JB notes how strange this change of outlook is from Rain, but she calls him cynical. She's just here to fight the best challengers possible, and Awesome Kong happens to be the best challenger. However, as Madison continues, Paul Heyman walks onto the set. He tells Madison that he needs to speak with her right now, and he orders her to go to his office. We don't normally see Heyman being this stern with the wrestlers. He's not really put his foot down too much, so we can see that something's up. Heyman then whispers into the ear of JB, who informs viewers that an investigation has been opened after an anonymous tip-off that Madison Rayne was seen leaving the referee's office earlier in the night. So a budding story, also using Paul Heyman to try and add a little last-minute heat to the Knockouts Championship storyline. But Madison Rayne has been seen leaving the referee's office, and that could have a serious implication on what goes down later tonight. We then get the Knockouts Tag Team Championship match. Decent reaction from the crowd, pretty much everything gets that, but again the claims of subpar wrestling. The Knockouts seemingly not doing a good job tonight, but the New Age defeat DNR in 9 minutes 5 when Alyssa Flash pins Roxy with a heart attack, their tag team move. It is defense number 2 of the Knockouts tag team titles for the New Age, a decisive victory for Flash and Mischief as they move on to bigger things. Alyssa Flash's gimmick getting a note there, and it's a 55. I think that's a decent match. I think subpar wrestling is a little bit harsh on that. Jimmy Jacobs then joins the Knockouts tag team champions in the ring after the match. Alyssa Flash and Mischief once again showing why they are the #1 duo in TNA and the team to beat in the Knockouts tag team division. Again, that note about a stale gimmick, but we go into another video package then before the final match of their storied rivalry. We look back on the history between Beer Money and the Motor City Machine Guns. Without question, the two top teams currently in TNA. Beer Money have spent the majority of the year as champions, having invoked their Feast or Fired briefcase after a title defense by the Motor City Machine Guns against Team 3D. That was a tables match, so a lot taken out of Motor City Machine Guns during that contest, and that was the official heel turn of Beer Money. Since then, the two teams have faced off on a number of occasions, but there's been one constant. Beer Money have always had the number of Shelley and Sabin. The most recent was Slammiversary, and as a result, tonight is the last chance saloon for the Motor City Machine Guns. They wanted one more shot, and to do that, they had to make a pretty big sacrifice. If they lose this final opportunity, they will never be able to challenge Beer Money for the World Tag Team Championships again. If a different team have it, they'll be allowed to challenge for it. But if Beer Money are holding the titles, then Motor City Machine Guns will never get that shot. We gain heat to the storyline with this video package. With it being a 58, I'm not sure that's necessarily a good thing because it indicates that the rivalry was quite low down. But the World Tag Team Championship match, 2 out of 3 falls, it gets a 63. I want more from these guys, but I can only blame myself for not maybe booking them more strongly. Sabin and Shelley should be getting better ratings than that, but the actual booking, the first fall, the regular normal tag team match, goes to Beer Money, and they may regret now proposing the 2 out of 3 falls match. When the Tornado tag team part comes into it, that plays into the hands of the Motor City Machine Guns, and they even the odds. Of course, a 2 out of 3 falls match, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get to the final fall. It was a roll-up that evened things up, but we get a decisive victory in the elimination match, which is the final fall, and it is both members of the Motor City Machine Guns who remain after they hit a Made in Detroit to Robert Roode to secure the decisive fall and become 2-time World Tag Team Champions. So the lineage under my booking so far has been Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, Storm and Roode, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, really putting over that these two are undisputedly the two top teams in the company. But the Motor City Machine Guns celebrate their victory. Beer Money's run is over, and they are handed the World Tag Team titles, having come up short in every other match they've had with Roode and Storm since the start of the year. This is put over as a huge milestone for the now 2-time champions. Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin jump into the crowd and celebrate. We really want to create a positive moment for these two. The celebration's going on for some time. I think this was a 3-minute segment. The commentator's making clear just how important this win is to the Motor City Machine Guns. They don't get good ratings, their promos are poor, the matches aren't that great, but I am persisting with the Motor City Machine Guns, and even if the game doesn't quite agree, I still think that they're a vital part of this vision for TNA. Young, hungry and aggressive is summed up by these two as much as anybody really, and for that reason they leave Hard Justice and begin the road to Bound for Glory as the tag team champions. Kurt Angle is then interviewed in the back by Lauren Brooke and discusses his main event match against who he calls the two top challengers of 2010. Few people would argue with that, maybe AJ Styles and Bobby Lashley, but the two current active guys, Desmond Wolfe and Samoa Joe, are guys who Kurt Angle knows very well, and moreover he knows just how good they are. Kurt, however, grabs the microphone from Lauren Brooke and looks intently down at the camera. He says that he hasn't got a clue what Paul Heyman has planned for Thursday night, but whatever it is, he needs to accept that Kurt is walking into Impact as still the World Heavyweight Champion, and whatever it is, he's going to be the one ready to face that next thing, whatever it is. Hurt in the storyline, unfortunately. I thought having Kurt Angle improvise a 3-minute promo would get a better rating than that, to be honest, especially when he's doing a masterful job of improvising, but disappointing really, because we'd done a good job of getting the unfinished business storyline up to a pretty decent heat, so poor judgment from me there. Following the entrances of the competitors for the Knockouts Championship match, however, we're definitely gaining heat to their storyline as Paul Heyman comes out from the back and delays the in-ring introductions, as he says there was that incident earlier tonight that he had to investigate, and in the interest of transparency, Paul Heyman says that he was happy during his meeting with Madison Rayne that the champion was able to convince him that the allegations were untrue. Madison Rayne in the ring makes a big show of feeling vindicated here. However, since then, new footage has come to light. Rayne has Hamada to thank for the initial tip-off, but the cameras don't lie. Paul Heyman then points to the big screen, which plays footage showing Madison Rayne leaving the referee's office despite her claims that that wasn't true. Earl Hebner has shown the champion to the door and he waves her off with a smile on his face. As a result of the footage, Earl Hebner will no longer be the referee for this match. He's taken out. Brian Hebner or Mark Johnson or whoever it is will take his place for this match, and when that news is revealed, Madison Rayne's face drops, only adding credibility really to the idea that she had something planned involving Earl Hebner. But that's a 78 rating as we go into the second last match of the night, the Knockouts Championship match. From the beginning, Madison Rayne's game plan is thrown off, so it just becomes cat and mouse. Eventually the cat does catch the mouse and it's an implant buster in 3 minutes and 11, a decisive dominant victory. We had Abyss squashing in a way Jeff Hardy earlier tonight. This is an even more one-sided match. This time last month, Awesome Kong wasn't even in the conversation for the Knockouts Championship, but we wanted a big moment, something to send a shockwave through the Knockouts division, hopefully give it a jolt. It is hot shot in the title a little bit, so that might not go down too well, but I wanted Kong, who I think is one of the top performers in the division. She's only getting 2 more points in the individual ratings than Madison Rayne there, but I think that she's a much bigger asset to this division. That's not to downplay Madison Rayne in any way. Mauro and Taz left speechless at the sheer speed that Awesome Kong was able to steamroll Madison Rayne. She's one of the most unique female competitors out there, and I just think that as the face of the Knockouts division, if you turn it on the TV and you watch WWE and you're seeing the Divas and then you go and see Awesome Kong is holding the Women's Championship in TNA, I think that's going to hammer home more than anything that we are the alternative. And with the Bound for Glory card that I want to put together, I really want it to be a showcase of what makes TNA TNA. And I think Awesome Kong is synonymous with what was great about the Knockouts division. This is the second time that she has held the title, the first time in almost 2 years, and it's put over again that the landscape of the division has changed tonight. It is then time for the main event, and the video package is built around the unfinished business between the 3 men in the match, and this is finally the 3 of them coming together. Kurt Angle and Wolf had a great rivalry. Kurt Angle and Joe have so much history together, and Wolf and Joe have had a good rivalry for the last few months. Tonight, the 3 top singles wrestlers in TNA will face off, with the man who leaves as the World Heavyweight Champion taking the title into the final 2 months of build towards the biggest show of the year, Bound for Glory. So again, we are centering everything on the fact that you want to be the champion going into the marquee show, the biggest show of the TNA calendar. and it's an exceptional match according to the in-game commentary, but only a 79 is a little bit underwhelming for a pay-per-view main event. It's a 26 minute and 58 seconds match, and after Joe is taken out of the equation, Kurt Angle is able to make Desmond Wolfe tap out. That is important, I think, because it shows just how decisive Kurt Angle is. He makes defense number 6 of the World Heavyweight title. Kurt Angle, as always, is fantastic with a 91, although we have seen better even from him. Wolfe and Joe both holding their own, and I'm looking at those individual ratings, you'd hope for maybe an 85. I am going to look in the dirt sheet. I don't even think you can really blame my booking decisions. It says there we were penalised for the inconsistency of Kurt Angle, Desmond Wolfe being partially through a weight change. I've not heard anything about that, so that's surprising to see, but fair enough, I guess, and the commentary and a lack of heat from the storyline, so probably that segment earlier in the night has actually hurt us. Not the best, but following what will go down as one of the toughest challenges of his World Heavyweight Championship reign so far, Kurt Angle stands tall to end Hard Justice, holding the title that he promised to retain above his head. He has done exactly what he said he was going to do. Mauro and Taz begin to sign off on the pay-per-view when Samoa Joe returns to the ring. He'd been taken out of the fall. He wasn't involved. He acts a bit of a bad loser here. We've not seen this side of Joe for a little while as he grabs Kurt Angle and goes face to face with the World Heavyweight Champion. He points to Desmond Wolfe, who is now rolled to the outside, and shakes his head, saying, "This is about me and you." He feels that after beating Desmond Wolfe in the final match of their rivalry, he should have got a one-on-one match. This is generally considered poor etiquette, and the commentators are putting over that this is a little bit out of order from Samoa Joe, really. Kurt Angle's just won the main event. Such a hard-fought match. He put in such a great performance that the generally respectful thing to do is to allow the champion to stand tall, raising his belt. Certainly would expect Kurt Angle to have done that if Joe had won the match, and Joe's actions do fire Kurt Angle up. He thinks this is a bit of a dick move, and the two go nose to nose, reminiscent of our current world champion's TNA debut, of course. On that occasion, Kurt Angle headbutted Samoa Joe, and the two got into a really, really physical brawl. That doesn't spill over to that level tonight, but with things heating up just moments after the Hard Justice main event, the commentators put the cherry on the icing on the cake as they take the opportunity to promote this Thursday's Impact, and they confirm, in keeping with what Paul Heyman's been saying, that a former World Heavyweight Champion will return on Impact. Again, like I said, we want to turn the heat up on this build to Bound for Glory. A 76 rated pay-per-view is not going to do that. Very disappointed with that, really. And considering we went up against SummerSlam, I do think this is going to be one of the worst buy rates for a pay-per-view they've had. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's the worst buy rate we've had so far. The second worst pay-per-view, other than the one in January. So we've got to start building that momentum now. I've been really happy with the vast majority of the shows that we've done, but tonight, just I don't know. Just the ending of the pay-per-view, the fact that it's rated poorly, the fact that the buy rate's been terrible, the fact that we've now got quite a few morale issues. I can't worry about it too much. It's going to be a good episode next week, and the build to No Surrender, and then the build to Bound for Glory. I think that we're going to have 10 good shows in a row from now, so one bad show, hopefully I can be forgiven for. TNA Impact coming soon. Thanks for watching Hard Justice 2010.